Hello. Today I'm going to show you the middle room of our house. In a previous video I showed downstairs and explained what we'd done down there. And on this video I want to show you the middle room, which is actually our living room for most of the time. If anyone comes to stay with us, it doubles up as a bedroom and then they have that space. And it's the middle space in our house. I always say our house is like three boxes, really, one on top of the other. It's very small. It works really well for us. So I'm going to share that with you and just show you around this room. It'll sort of maybe give a bit of a clue as to how we live as well, and what we think is important and what we think is not important. So we begin here. This is the door into our living room space off a little landing. And this door was one that we claimed from the old barn when we moved here. There is still a barn. We took a lot of things from there, like windows and doors and wood. So that's an old door that was reclaimed and refitted in here. I'll just do a general little scan round so you get a feel for it. The window there onto the garden. This part of the room, it's an L-shaped room, and this part of the room is the bit that I've made into a little office space. This is my space. This is where I make a lot of my videos, certainly where I edit videos, I should say. So that's my little space there. And go around the room, we've got some long windows there. It's actually a door, you can open that. Another window. And so obviously there's our sitting area. And then there's the stove. And we come full circle round. A big, I don't know what you call it, a big sideboard, I suppose is the word, and then there's the door that we've just come in. When we arrived, this floor had been, I think, the main bit where the person who had used this house before was a carpenter, and this is where he had all his machinery and loads of wood, and there were no stairs up to this level, so had to make a staircase to get up. Everything was to do here. It wasn't a separate room. It was just part of the whole house. In fact, there was no ceiling or anything. So you just were here and you looked all the way up to the rafters. So we had to completely create this room. The first thing it involved was making the floor good, because the floor was not very safe. Floorboards needed quite a lot of attention to make them fit at all. It's still very rustic, but it works, it's nice. That meant we had to take all the floorboards up, clean them all off because they were really filthy. There's years and years of dust and cobwebs, and took them all downstairs. We preserved them. We painted paraffin on them as well because we thought that would help preventing woodworm, which so far seems to have done a good job. So it was 11 years, it's done okay. And then Tom fitted them all, and that was quite a job, trying to get all these very unusual shapes to fit together. As you can see, the boards are very rustic. There's knots, there's holes, all sorts of things. Tom did a lot of work to actually piece them together. We got some boards from the neighbours. They were taking a floor up, so they had some slightly better boards. So on this side, they're much better condition. They're not as old. And so they all had to be fitted. And as with everywhere else in the house, we had to do the whole walls. The walls were lime rendered with 2 layers of lime render. So we've only got 2 layers, so that means they're still quite rustic. I'll show you over here what we had as well. There's a lot of these little niches. So this one, there'll probably be cobwebs in here. I might as well tell you now. You can actually see through. We've fitted a pane of glass in there. It's just a little niche that was here. I think it had probably had a beam or something in before. There's another one hiding behind here actually. So, but that one we haven't got any glass in that. That doesn't go all the way through. So there were quite a lot of little features and things that we liked. But I'll just come in a bit closer to some of the wall. You'll see it is quite rough. But that's an effect we liked, especially liked it after we'd done 2 layers of it. And then we painted it with lime render as well. And here around by the windows, we left some of the original stone. In places, we left the stone so you could see what had been here before. And again, just to add a bit of a feature, really. That's the door. So that's where you would have come in originally, up to this level. I think people would have lived on this level before. Most of the old houses in Aveyron have these huge stone slabs near a window, and so this would have actually been the sink. And there was, we've plastered this now, but there was a hole just here, so water would have drained straight outside. And then I suspect that this part here would have been where they kept things cool. You can see, again, we left the original stone in here, so this is what it's like. And then it's got slate to each side and above as well, and below there. So you can see that. That would have acted like a fridge, I think. And then these are the storage spaces that existed. I guess they would have kept maybe plates and things like that there. We've got ornaments and things. We do sometimes keep wood in this bottom one, because then we've got the stove here, which we fitted. So we put a stove in because the winters here are very cold, or they can be very cold. And we created the hearth. In fact, I created the hearth there. So, yeah, and that keeps us nice and cosy. And then here, this wall didn't exist at all. We did actually use plasterboard. Someone was getting rid of some plasterboard, and we'd been trying to keep things really as natural as we could, but it was going to be thrown away, and we had this problem of trying to create a wall, and I have to say it was very easy using the plasterboard. That's a little window which goes through onto the stairs, and that was to let some light onto the stairs. And then here, we bought this from what they call a troc here. It's sort of like a big second-hand place. And there's a lot of this old French furniture, very heavy. Zoom out and you can see it. So this is a huge bit of furniture that came in 3 pieces. We found it in this second-hand troc place, like I said. We had to get it in through the window that I've just shown you, through that door window. And this created part of the wall as well. So it's actually the back of it is, well, the whole bit of furniture is making the wall. So it's fixed in. You can see it goes right up to the ceiling there and right down to the floor. And it was very dark when we got it. I've since painted it, so it's a bit lighter, and it's very useful. But its biggest use is that it actually makes a wall. And this is where we come into the room again. And the other useful thing we've done here with this space is, like I say, like my little desk space, little office or whatever. And we've got this panel here that's attached to the wall. And I'll pull that out. And so I can, if I want, or we can if we want, separate the desk space a bit from the living space here, which is very useful if you're in a small house and you tend to distract each other a bit. So one or other of us might interrupt the other when we're trying to do something else. So by creating this little screen, it reminds me not to disturb Tom and Tom not to disturb me. Yeah, so it makes quite a nice little working space and divides the room. And I just think it's worth showing you these little things, just because, you know, if you live in a smaller space, it's useful being able to do things like that. And then the final thing really, I think, to mention here is the ceiling, because we had no ceiling here, right up to the rafters at the top. There were some beams, but some beams were missing, so I had to add a couple of beams as well, which was quite a job to do from outside. Tom's son Joe helped with that. I was very glad he was around that day. The ceiling, you might see, it looks quite uneven. In fact, there'll be cobwebs as well, I know that. But what we made that from was lots of separate little bits of plasterboard. I mean, some were bigger than others, that our neighbours were throwing away. It was just going to go to the tip, or the recycling place as we call it now. And so we needed a ceiling. So we used it and made the ceiling and then painted it. These little bits coming down, which you'll see dangling down like little aliens, they are actually our lights. We're always looking, still looking all these years, for some kind of nice little covering for these lights. So at the moment, what you see is wires with a little LED light on, but each light is 1 watt. And so we have quite a few little lights, and we've got different switches in different areas of the room, so we can put, say, those 3 lights over in that area on, or we could just put the ones in over my desk or over this sleeping area, which I haven't really shown you. But at the moment, this is a bed, but it's actually a bed settee, so we can convert that. And it's just got left as a bed since my sister visited in the summer. We've got rather used to having that as a little place where you can just have a quick kip So that's quite nice sometimes, but we'll probably make it back into a settee again at some point. So yeah, the room's divided into 3 areas. The lighting corresponds to those areas, so we can choose just to put a few on at a time. I think in the whole house we have about 45 lights. They're nearly all 1 watt. We have actually changed 1 or 2 now to be slightly higher wattage, to be a bit brighter in certain places. So it doesn't use much energy in lighting. And then there's a nice window here, which I can look out of from the desk, which is really nice. So this is for the 12 volt that comes to the house, and I've just moved back the seat part, and then you can see in here we have, at the moment, we just got 2 batteries in there because we also have another wire that brings 240 volts from the barn. We keep a lot of batteries in the barn, but these are the ones that we just have 2 batteries there that we use for mainly for our lighting in the house and for little things like charging mobile phones and that kind of thing. So that's all tucked away neatly in there, and I'll just slide that top back on, and then we've got a window seat as well, so that's quite handy. They're nicely out of the way. I think the only other thing that I feel maybe is important to mention is that nothing matches here. It's not a fashion thing, you know. We don't have matching things. We have things that either that we love for some reason, or are comfortable or practical, and yeah, we like the look of them too. But a lot of second-hand things. These chairs that we've got, there's one there, and there's a settee as well to go with it. The settee we've got a throw on, so that you can just see that. We found them in, you know, again in a second-hand place, so they weren't too expensive. And that bit of material on the table there, that little tablecloth, I just love that material. I got that years and years ago. I was with my mum shopping somewhere and came across that, and it was just a little piece. So I just edged it here with these little pom-pommy things at each side, and that has served us so well. Oh, and the table, I'm going to show you the table. Let's just do this. Tom made that in 15 minutes. And when we first came, of course, we had no furniture, very little furniture, and we wanted a coffee table. He had this piece of wood here, point with my foot, which was left in the house. He cut the ends off a bit, rounded it off. I think I sanded it at the time. And then another 2 bits of wood here underneath. So yeah, I've just tipped it on its side now so you can see underneath. It was very simple, but that's what we've used, and we've used that now for, you know, a good 11 years nearly. Cover it with a cloth and you've got a perfectly functional table. It's nice uncovered as well, I guess, depends what you like. You just use, you know, buy the things we like, not going with the latest fashion. The room doesn't change much. The walls are various shades of this colour. I do occasionally repaint the walls, but not very often. So we're saving money and time. It's fine if you want to decorate and you enjoy doing that, great, but if you don't have a lot of money, you can't really afford to be changing all your furniture. You know, paint's really expensive here in France, so you don't want to buy paint unless you really have to. I should show you the windows as well. A lot of the windows were reclaimed from the barn. Actually, these were original. These were the original ones here in the house. And the other thing, just to show you, so these windows have been, well, stuck together really with lots of putty and things like that. You know, they're old. And I do paint them. Every 2 or 3 years I paint them. They're due painting again. You can see the sun here makes the paint really flake off. But the other thing is, we repaired these bits of glass. At the time, we had so little money at the time. And also, we wanted to recycle and use what we had. So these panes of glass actually got silicone in there as well, just to stick them together. I think we also thought at some point, yes, we will, maybe when we've got more money, we'll replace them. And we do keep talking about replacing the windows, mainly from a point of view of not losing heat and things like that, saving energy. But so far we haven't done, we just keep sort of repairing them. They're all in a similar condition. Here's another one with some panes that have been repaired. It's good to repair things and use what you've got, and I think maybe we're going to have to do a bit more of that. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that little tour of our living room. I've just tried to show you the things that we've done, tried to illustrate what it was like before when we arrived, and also to say that it's okay not to have new stuff and to do things second hand, do things in your own way. We've been a bit brainwashed, I think, over the last sort of 20 years or more into being good consumers, as they call us. And yeah, I don't necessarily want to be a good consumer. I want to be a good human being and just really actually look after the earth as much as I can. We've been encouraged to always that it's good to have new things, and almost told it's bad to have old things and things that are a bit worn and things like that. And that's why I like the Japanese approach of wabi-sabi, where they say that things don't have to be perfect, and actually it's something really nice about the oldness of an object or the imperfection in an object. Just something to think about anyway. Lots of love. Have a good week. If you like these videos, hit the like button. If you want more, subscribe. Ring the bell if you want to be notified of when I make new videos. But it's twice a week at the moment, on a Wednesday and a Friday. So have a good week. Bye.